one of the nice things about the Warpless category is we get to hear the majority of the really endearing story. There is still a tiny bit of it that gets skipped. But, yeah, I'm ready to go. You can start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. So there's a story drop right away. Let's give it a listen. I would ordinarily skip this.
Dearest Hugh. Oh, I've had the most dreadful luck. I feel terrible that you've been left alone all this time. The traitorous Dr. Gray tried to steal the annular spectrum, a ring I developed to allow perception and alteration of colour. Some call them impossible colours. Impossible for Dr. Gray, maybe. Anyway, something went wrong. I turned a strange shade and became invisible. The ring, it fractured, scattering coloured shards far and wide. I stayed at home for many weeks, watching, waiting, existing on this coloured plane. I couldn't speak to you, nor interact with anything in the mono world. So I left. I left for the university where I hid away the coloured tools I had created. I pray you have found what is left of the ring.
Great, stream is having problems. It seems totally fine on my end. OBS is not saying anything nasty to me. So, should I be talking? Am I live? Should I continue playing? I don't know if anyone can hear me right now.
Since the beginning, we have pointed to the sky and declared it blue. Connects us.
So yeah, the story is about Hugh, the titular young boy, searching for his missing mother. These letters from Mom are scattered throughout the world.
Shades of grey. Don't you see, Hugh? This is why we're here.
And ordinarily in the any % run after collecting the light blue shard, I would hit restart level from the menus, which moves you back to Hugh's house, but that's considered warping, so we don't allow that in the Warpless run. We would also have done it here to skip the animation of the miner shuffling off to the left. But okay, let's see if I can get back into the commentary groove a little bit here. I ordinarily skip the letters whenever I can because there's a slight lag spike when you run through the letters, except it didn't happen on that first one, so go figure.
I ask for you, Hugh, to abandon your expectations, to pull me back from the brink of unreality. I need you to see the world not for what it is, but for what it can be.
Yeah, the central conceit of this game is changing the background color, which makes objects of that same color disappear, like that. Obviously, since we only have one color in our little palette right now, it's going to be pretty simple. Just making blue things disappear to enable traversal. Oops. Oops. And the one glitch we have in the run that, of course, you're not going to see in this run is death warping. If you die going backwards through an entrance door, it takes you to the exit door of the room. There's actually several rooms you can do it in this blue section, including that one, but it's actually slower than simply doing the room. We would do a lot of them in the any % run. The any % is about 10 minutes faster than Warpless. Oh, and I can't do reset level from the menus for any reason, not even because I die, and I died again. Died twice doing a strat that saves 2 seconds if you get it first try, so we'll just do it the safe way. Still dead. That also happens sometimes. This room just really wants to kill me right now. Okay. This here is an example of a room you can death warp in, but it's slower by about a second. Because you have to wait out the whole death animation. We still don't do the intended solution in this room because we can just jump over the boulder. The game wants you to run all the way to the bottom of that room. And there's a collectible down there, so the 100% do that. But if you time it right, you can simply jump over the rolling boulder. And we're going to get our next color, which is purple. Part of the reason the warpless category is so much slower than the straightforward any percent is because it disallows the intended warps as well. A lot of casual players, and I've watched a lot of casual players play this game on Twitch. I just love this game so much. A lot of casual players don't even know about the intended warps, and I certainly didn't the first time I played through the game.
Did you know, Hugh, that purple is at the very end of the visible spectrum? It's the hardest colour for our eyes to distinguish. Now, imagine a shade one step further.
Bunny hopping. Jump again right as you hit the ground from the previous jump. You can also do it on ladders.
If reality is rooted in our perception, and you cannot perceive me, do I even exist to you? I'm sure that I do. I mean, you're reading this letter, or at least I hope you are. I'm sorry,
but yeah, warpless disallows the death warps and the intended warps. I actually thought up the warpless category before we ever even knew about the death warps. Just because I wanted a category that showed off so much more of the story. I suppose I've been talking over some of these letters, so you haven't quite gotten the full gist of the story, but basically Hugh's mom is missing. She turned invisible because she created a device that can manipulate color, and we're reassembling it as we go. Audio seems to be delayed. I mean, I don't have any audio delays on this profile, so... Next color is orange. In any percent, we would do a map warp, that's the intended warps, out of this area. And go back to the entrance of the cave hub. It's much faster than running through the next room with Mom's letter, but this is warpless, so we'll run through the room with Mom's letter. Anytime you gain a shard, the door to exit the room on the far end of the shard room is the same color as the shard you just gained, so you have to change color right away.
The university gardens were bathed in an earthy orange light when I first met Dr. Gray. Summer had come and gone, and a cold autumnal crispness had caught me off guard. I sat on the grass, surrounded by my books and papers, when a cool breeze threatened to blow my notes across the lawn. A page escaped my reach and took flight. A man not much older than myself chased after it, catching it on his third or fourth attempt. I remember his gentle smile when he returned it. He started talking, and I was surprised that he had read my work in the university journal. He said he was a professor and that he hoped we could work together someday. It's funny, Hugh, how something so small can change so much.
So that's the origin of Dr. Gray. We don't hear that letter in the any percent run. The any percent run, this is the first mention we hear of Dr. Gray.
Dr. Gray soon became my assigned mentor, and I can't help but feel he somehow had a hand in it. Our fires burnt brightest when we worked together.
I don't know what could be going wrong on my end. It says 0 dropped frames on my end.
We split light, mapped spectrums, we painted.
It's holding a pretty steady bitrate too.
Long hours, and soon our goal
Everything looks perfect on my end.
We were vessels. The work became more important than us. We knew it.
It's at 1,000, Kingham. Would you like me to lower it to 0? This is probably my second favorite segment in the run. Just because of how tight a lot of these movements are. That went pretty well. Yeah, nearly everyone I know streams at least 5,000, if not higher. So, I'm already in the house when it comes to bit rate. Trust me. This room would be skipped altogether in the any percent run with a death warp. This is not one of the rooms that I was, like, hoping to preserve the solution for with the warpless category. Because this solution, it's not even even calling it a solution is grandiose. Just what you do in this room is a little tedious. This room has a really cool solution. Totally happened upon that by accident. What you're supposed to do is jump to that purple area on the left of the screen, but doing what I just did is about 2 seconds faster. Yeah, my OBS says 0 dropped frames. So, I don't know. This room's pretty simple. You just run through and change colors to avoid the boulders if you can. You can also jump over them, but it's much faster to simply change colors and run through them. Gonna get our next color here, which is pink. I couldn't even remember. If it's unwatchable, you can cut me. It's fine. I understand.
I do know that Dr. Gray and I spent many a time together. I would compliment him on his work, and his cheeks would flush with a pinkness. He'd notice and change the subject, embarrassed. This work we were doing together, it didn't feel...
New strat in this room as of a few days ago. It's pretty obvious in hindsight. You just drop past that blue block first instead of going all the way around, which is what we used to do. I love it when new strats the most obvious stuff in the world in hindsight. You see somebody find something and it's like, how did we ever miss this? I've seen this room take casual players quite some time. You just have to know the correct sequence of colors to shift to. The resolution is already down to about 680p. And I can't change it without cutting the stream anyway. This room's pretty well optimized. Nothing is done by accident. Get this orange block under there. Oh, that's something I haven't mentioned yet. Anytime you have a block that's 2 units high, or you have a low ceiling in front of above you for a short block, jumping while you push the block saves a pretty substantial amount of time, actually. So there's a skip in this room that I found. You're supposed to use that orange block on the top right there. Put it in the spike pit. Dang. You don't have to, though. Yeah, my computer screen is 1366 by 768 natively, so the resolution options are a little different than what you might expect. That was wrong again. Nailed this in my practice run. Fucking hell. Sorry. Don't know if I'm not supposed to use adult language. Getting this second try is about as fast as just doing the intended solution. Getting it much worse than second try is obviously not. Alright, one more try, and then I'll just do the intended solution. Hey, there we go. First try every time. So this room has another pretty easy death warp in it that we can't do. But this actually is one of the rooms that I was pretty happy to preserve the solution for in the warpless run, because this room is very fun to solve. That tends to be how I feel on the matter, nobody important. But not everybody does feel that way. I wish I was a professional. So you're supposed to jump on blocks all the way down, but you can actually take the purple block out of the equation, as I did there, with some coyote time jumps, and not have to change colors in the midst of that room at all. This room has new strats that I am just learning. There we go, that wasn't too bad. Yeah, that wasn't bad at all, actually. Ah, come on. So yeah, coyote time, and if you don't know what coyote time is, it's a concept in platformers where you can interact with the floor below your feet for a certain length of time, measured in frames to be sure, when it's no longer there. It usually means when you run off a platform, you can react as if there were a few extra pixels of space for you to run on. But in this game, it also works with making platforms disappear below your feet. That enables some really cool skips, and even a few wins depend on horizontal momentum, not necessarily coyote time. Vertical momentum doesn't matter in this game at all. Ever. It's simply not a thing. It's just not in the physics for this game. Horizontal momentum, if you have a running start before a jump, matters a great deal.
Did you know, Hugh, that every language first has a word for black and for white, for dark and for light? The first colour described afterwards is always red, the colour of blood and wine.
This is another area where we would not normally hear this during the any percent run, because we would just warp back to the cave hub.
When Dr. Gray sided with the university, stopping my research altogether. For all our languages, for all our ways to communicate, it's funny how sometimes we simply cannot. It leads people to do things they regret, to steal, to break, to forget what is important.
OBS now reports that I have dropped 1 frame. Yep, that's it exactly, Kingham.
Once a seed has taken root, it doesn't take long for it to grow. To nurture,
Just like the
blossom,
cartoons where
beautiful.
he runs off the cliff and he hangs in midair until he notices he runs off the cliff.
And I wasn't prepared to let it wilt and die. The university claimed my experiments were
It's a very common mechanic in
altering
platformers.
our reality was dangerous.
a subtle, unseen way of making the game, it's not necessarily making the game seem easier, but making the players seem more skilled.
And move us both far away. I knew of a small fishing village a boat ride from the university, where I hoped my reputation wouldn't precede me.
Hello, you Mario, thank you.
Now where you've spent most of your childhood.
I already messed up one of the skips, so we're not gonna PB or nothing, but that's alright. So the solution for this room is to have different colors above and below, and it's pretty simple. And I screwed it up. I should have shifted to light blue there to make the light blue disappear, but whatever, it's fine. Is the stream dying again? Sorry, I don't know what else, what I can do about it. This room is a little tricky to get on the right cycle. Sometimes you just aren't, and I don't understand why. This is the right cycle, though, so that's good. Yeah, first playthrough of this game is, you know, depending on how thorough you are looking for the collectibles and how much you suck at the puzzles, could be anywhere from about 5 hours to maybe 8. I think my first playthrough was, I was pretty bad at the puzzles, so I think it was actually closer to 9. But I recently gifted this game to a friend, and he completed a first playthrough in like 5 hours on the dot, so kind of made me rethink my assessment of that. Let's see if I can get the one cycle in this room. What you're supposed to do in this room is to put the red block on the switch, make the thwomp notice it, and then I'm not going to get the one cycle. No, not even close. So that's the intended solution right there, but you can just barely make it under the closing door in one. I haven't been able to do it lately. Faster to go up one side there until you reach this point because you can jump up and aggro the thwomp above you. By the way, that's literally what these things are called in the game's code, is thwomps. I just called them that because it's just like, oh, they look like Mario thwomps, lol. But that's really what they're called. There's a cool trick in this room that exploits the fact that when you change colors, any objects that are not on a path, any objects that gravity is what dictates their path, when you change colors, they're frozen in place. Look at the light blue block. Isn't that cool? It was held in place because gravity dictates its path, so when I shifted to light blue the first time, it was above the thwomp. When I shifted the second time, the thwomp had, on its path, gone back above it, making it, in essence, phase through the thwomp. Dark blue is our next color. Yeah.
Do you the old tomes that used to sit on my desk? The ancient scriptures of civilization. Support my research. Aside from their wonder, some things stood out above all else. Blue. or specifically the absence of it.
By the way, that has a basis
I
in
could go into
fact.
detail at length.
Ancient civilization lacking
It was never
a word for
mentioned at
blue.
all. The word simply didn't
It's,
exist.
one of the progenitors of what is,
Without a word to
what is
describe it,
Greece nowadays.
I'll be sure they could see it at all.
The Spartans or the Minoans or one of those. They did not have a specific word for blue. That is absolutely based in fact. So you try to wedge the orange block there so you don't have to go all the way around it to retrieve it. Doesn't save much time, but if you do it right, it saves a little. And it's pretty free. So you may notice the game is getting progressively more complex with the puzzles, as puzzle platformers are wont to do. We've introduced balloons. They must be pretty sturdy balloons to support the weight of even a small child. There will be other concepts later on. Skip in it that I actually did in my first playthrough. I was a little bit disappointed when I started running the game that the runners already knew about this. Get a jump push in there since the block is nice and low. That right there. You can move Hugh in midair after he jumps. So you can jump up, grab the key, redirect yourself to the left, and not have to worry about blocking off that spike pit. Turn red here to make some balloons on the other side disappear, thus making this drop take less time. The game expects you to go all the way around there when you can just as easily just go through. I call this the Indiana Jones room. To me, it kind of evokes that scene in the Indiana Jones movie where he's running from the big boulder. Yes, Hugh, you are certainly not the first to make that joke, nor will you be the last. Although the first time someone did make that joke, when I was first starting to run this game, I did have to have it explained to me. I will confess to that. All right. We get our next color, which is yellow. I don't know if you saw a little bit of it when I was practicing and getting the levels set before starting the run, but it's the section with the freaking lasers in it. This is another place in any percent where we would warp back to the cave hub. But in Warpless, you get a little more story.
Spring was around the corner. The daffodils poked through the dirt. As time moved, my resentment slowly slipped away. I continued my research from home. Without Dr. Gray,
It just
slow, but
couldn't tell ya.
still made progress. One day, Hugh, when you were sleeping, I watched over you. I was on the cusp of a breakthrough, and you were the last person left to see it. I was so excited for the both of us.
Hugh's mother is voiced by British actress Anna Acton, and she is definitely one of the reasons I've been able to play this game for over 200 hours. I love her voice.
led me to
graphic
care
design
for
puns. Well,
civilization.
sorry, that would have gone way
They
over my
built
head.
great machines, pioneering electricity many years before we discovered it. Strangely, though, this civilization is said to have felt no pain. They knew of pain and observed it, yet could not experience it themselves. Explaining to them the sensation of pain is like me explaining colour to someone that can only see in black and white. I wonder, Hugh, if we will be able to share in our experiences of colour.
First couple rooms in the laser section are quite simple. But after the first couple, pretty much all of them have cool strats. This one is an interesting one in the 100% run, because there is a collectible down there. You can just barely make the first cycle of the lasers to get through and reach it, but it's crazy hard. This room has a cool skip in it. Hope I don't mess it up. Not bad. Yes! I've been messing that strat up a lot. That may not have looked like much, but that saves... That little sequence of shifts and jumps by the pink laser saves over 20 seconds. Next two rooms we call Laser Madness. You'll see why. You only get one shot at this room, and I got it. If you reset the room or if you die, the lasers are not on the same cycle as the first time you enter, and no amount of trying to die or exit the room will reset them to the same cycle they're on the first time you enter. That's a very stupid mistake. This right here should be the hard part of this room. There we go. I just shifted to red too soon. This room actually does have a death warp in it, but it's almost exactly the same length of time as simply doing the run. I kind of want to do an all death warps meme run of this game. As I said, several of the death warps are slower than simply doing the rooms. This room has a very powerful death warp that saves buckets of time. I don't know why I keep talking about the death warps when they're not allowed in this run, but they're the, I guess, best bit of tech we do have in this run. And if you time this red and blue sequence just right, you'll never have to run up against a door. And that was pretty much right. That was pretty good. Well, it's better than it being 5 or 10 seconds ahead. Although I understand it's not ideal. I truly don't think that's anything on my end, so sorry. So we're gonna get our last color here, which is green. And I've definitely seen casual players get to this point. Oh, thank you, Picky Fighter. Infamous is, I felt such a great game. I've sort of walked away from it at this point. I didn't mean to walk away entirely. I do want to get the 118, but so many other great games to run. But thank you. It's kind of you to say. What was I saying? Final color, which is green. This next area, these next few puzzle rooms would Or, yeah, I figured you meant HDQ, don't worry.
I could see a coloured image of the sun. Aqua,
This whole area,
orange,
including the next, I believe it is 4 puzzle rooms.
and green.
I've said a lot of the rooms are skipped with death warps. We would not even see these rooms, because if we could warp,
Was I dreaming?
we would
Was I alive?
warp straight to the town
My
and
senses
turn on the lighthouse
kind of monitor.
light that way.
Revelation. Time eased.
But we can't warp, so we have to do
Motion, like Pollock painting a
the
picture.
lighthouse puzzles. There's a skip in the first one that I cannot do
Slip back to normal.
at all. I will try it once,
Gold into grey.
since I'm not on a very good pace anyway.
But what followed affected me the most. After seeing in colour for the first time,
Nope. I'm not gonna get... I can't do that one, so
in colour for the first time,
I'm not gonna worry about
when
it.
everything returned to normal, I could remember in colour.
Anytime 2 lasers are side by side like that, you can completely run straight through them. There's a space in between them. It's not big enough to stand still in, but it's big enough to pass through. And there's an instance later in the run where you will see me do that and hopefully not fail it miserably. I don't know why I'm so much better at the other one, but I cannot do that one. It's a very simple skip here that I mess up routinely. Got it, though. The intended solution is to use the yellow block at the top to block the laser, but you can jump through the laser. Yeah, ooh, hello. Yeah. Yeah, these lasers, that was me being distracted. No, that's not a glitch, that's an exploit. I'm gonna do it again, Jesus. It's an intended mechanic used in an unintended way. The death warp, that's an emergent mechanic. That's a glitch. That is not far enough. Nice memes. There we go. Like I was talking earlier about the coyote time. That jump there in the previous room utilizes it because the laser and the blocks below my feet are both red. I shift to red to make all of them disappear, and there's a moment, it might be frame perfect. I don't know how big the window is. Let's call it frame perfect because that's a nice meme. That I can jump as if the blocks below my feet are still there, even though they're not. And since the laser is also gone, if I have sufficient forward momentum, I can get through the laser that way. And skip having to position the yellow block at the top of the room. It's an exploit. But it is not a glitch. You can actually do this room without ever turning off the lasers. It's much slower. You'd never want to do it that way. But somebody told me that in my chat once. And I tried it out, and it really does work. It's not a smart solution, but you can do it. Come on. Right here, the game expects you to go to the left in that room to go through a very lengthy room with a letter from Mom. When it's faster to just climb out of the cave and reach the lighthouse that way. That's the one letter from Mom that we're still not hearing, even in this warpless run. I was a little disappointed when I found out that climbing out of the cave is faster, but it's almost 20 seconds faster. It's not by a little bit, so we really have to do it this way. And oh, I was going to say I'd seen casual players get the green shard and thus complete the color wheel and think that's the end of the game. It really isn't. My OBS shows no problems at all. It now says 2 drop frames. But the bitrate has stayed completely stable. I have a world record for this run. I I actually have all 3 world records for this game. Hashtag humble brag. Recce for this category is 55.59. Recce for Warpless is 46.55. Recce for 100% is 110. I don't remember.
Does it have colour and form? Does it matter? This journey has been.
But I am going to submit all 3 categories for JDQ and suggest a category bid war, because I think that could be a lot of fun. I do have this run accepted into other online events as a category bid war, which is pretty cool.
All this time, you've been alone.
Yeah, the 90% run is certainly faster and better optimized. The advantage this one has is, as I say, hearing the story, and that it really resembles a casual. 100% shores off, a lot of hidden secrets, although it does also require some backtracking, which is kind of a strike against it. Now, shift to light blue there, because if you don't, there's a spike there that'll fall and kill ya. It's not something people know about their first time through, that's for darn sure. Then, the next concept we're introducing here is these jumpy trampolines that change color when you jump on them. And positioning them under the spikes means you have to shift to their color, which I thought I had done before walking on them. Thing that sometimes confuses casual players is the trampolines are not always visible because they're the same color that the room starts with. Strat for this room I actually adopted from a casual player. Optimally, you don't want to land on that block coming down. It's very hard to avoid it, though. It's a very precise coyote time jump. This room is a pain in the ass in the 100% run. There is it's not particularly well hidden collectible, it's just very out of the way. And it takes a long time to reach it, so I definitely prefer one of the any percent categories, just being able to not even worry about it. You need all the jumpy trampolines to be the same color here. Orange is fastest. Do. Alright, so in this room, we block the laser. The next room is really special. It has an awesome solution. check this out, or I mess it up. How about that, huh? Oh, did you guys miss the solution to that last room? That room is one of my favorites in the run because it has such an optimized solution. You're supposed to do all order of stuff on the top of the room, jumping on trampolines to make lasers change color, but you don't have to do any of that. You can just go straight to the key and straight to the exit. And I did the double laser skip, as I was mentioning earlier. I guess you guys missed that, too. Damn.
Being back at the university has
I
surfaced
usually
many
skip that letter for the lag spikes, but
I remember
whatever, it's a
taking
marathon.
you to lectures.
Let's play the story.
You would crawl to the front of the hall when I wasn't paying attention. Dr. Gray would look down from his lectern.
I now have 3 dropped frames.
Authority would wash away. He would pick you up, walk over, and return you to my arms with a smile. Love cannot be measured, Hugh. Like colour, it exists inside of us. I buried it.
Has the timer kept going?
I buried the love that I had for my own ends. I hope after all this, you will see my mistakes for what they are. Yours lovingly, Mum.
I have absolutely no idea why audio would be 10 seconds delayed or something. I'm sorry about that. Another room here where we would death warp, and it's quite simple, but not in this run we can't. Solution's pretty simple, too. Alright, cool. I know it's not a good run, but I'd still like to know more or less what the time is. I was so excited when I watched the run of the 5th place runner and how he did this room. It was so creative. It was such a fun-looking solution. Then I timed it, and it was 4 seconds slower. Rip that idea. That solution, though, is still pretty cool. I hate this room in Warpless. This room has a death warp that I am very glad exists because the Warpless solution is not fun. Got it, though. Okay, that is on my end. The game just completely froze. This room is very special, too. It has a very difficult skip. Let's see if I can get it. Almost. Very close. Well, I just invalidated the run by selecting restart level from the menu, but like I say, it wasn't a good run anyway. There we go. So that's the double blue laser skip. There is a very complicated intended solution there that I honestly don't even remember how to do. Damn it. This is probably going to go over estimate, quite honestly. My favorite meme in the world is when I hit the double blue laser skip first try, and then I miss jumping over a boulder. Yeah, I hope this will still be sub-hour. Not really too much to say here. Pretty straightforward solution. This room is pretty complicated. I've seen this room trip up casual players many a time. You need this block to be blue. Well, specifically, you need it to be any color but red and green. Blue's just the only other option. That's how you block the laser. Go up here, change this to dark blue. And I will take just a second to show this. There's a pixel you can stand on here. I found that quite by accident in my any percent PB. I believe it's still the current world record. And that's quite a thing to find by accident when you're on a world record pace run. This room has a crazy difficult death warp in it that, again, obviously we're not going to try in this run, but I've been trying to integrate for the any percent and 100% runs. I actually at one point had declared it not RTA viable until I accidentally proved it is. But we'll just do the nice little intended solution instead. That should be okay. Maybe... yeah, alright, cool. That's a good cycle with the platforms there. Oh, I'm up to 4 dropped frames now. So what we want to do here is aggro that first thwomp, wait for it to come down, then aggro the second, change to green. We want the thwomps to be different colors than the lasers above them. So we have green and then orange. We don't need to do it with this third one, since we can simply go through this yellow block. Now that we've lowered the yellow block, we want them to be the same color as their lasers. A lot of accidental stuff. Oh, as far as like finding strats, it's pretty rare for me that I can set out to find a strat and find a strat. There's certain open world games I run where I have found little like traversal strats from one mission to the next. But as far as like actual glitches and whatnot, I'm not so good at it. There's a traversal strat in this room that none of the other runners are doing, and I do not know why. That's the preview of it. We'll see the full version in a moment. Next step is to go get that red block. The other runners all go all the way around to the right where the ladder is. When you can just do that. Much faster. And you can even buffer the color changes so it's super safe, too. It would still be faster than going all the way around to the ladder. I have lost PB runs to forgetting the key was there. And it's better to pull. It's generally speaking better to push blocks than pull them. Here's one of the only instances where it's better to pull, because the open space by those purple thwomps is not hard. There's not much of it between the thwomps and the blue wall on the right if you push the block. It is still there, but it's... Alright, this is the last puzzle room. There is a bit of story afterward. I changed to blue there to make sure the thwomp up above, this pink thwomp, comes down. Otherwise, it'll come down when I enter this little tunnel, and that's not as safe. It is possible to jump past it even when it comes down because, oh, that was almost a bad mistake when you enter the tunnel, but it's not very reliable and it loses a lot of time if you try to do it that way and don't get it right. All right. Oh, this happens sometime. Any of my current PBs have that. And here's one more letter.
Dearest Hugh, it has been too long.
Yeah, the bull ear globes. The ones in the cave are rocks.
Mother, I tried to warn her. I thought that the university would protect her, would protect you. She did not understand that some people choose not to see. I never stole the ring from her, Hugh. I tried to destroy it, before it destroyed her. I now know she had it under control. She knew what she was doing.
The only major time save I have in my splits for this category is this segment, and it's because on this run right here, I didn't go all the way to the right. I stopped short and was like stretching my arms for 15 seconds before I noticed anything was wrong. This is the shadowy figure we've been chasing throughout, and it's Dr. Gray. Strongly hinted to be Hugh's father.
Instead, we see them as we are. Your mother, she has been waiting for you. I expect she will be thrilled to see how far you've come.
That door behind Hugh's mother in this little office, you can come back here after completing the game. That door is still there. It leads to the second floor of the university as you enter it. When you enter the university for the first time, there's a door on the second floor that appears inaccessible. And it is at that point in the game. But that's the other side of it. You can go through the door there and wind up back on the, at the very beginning of the university section. Or you can just map warp. This is the only dialogue in the NPC dialogue in the game you can't mash through. Of course, there's only one other NPC we talked to in the run anyway. Okay, get ready on time. It's gonna be in a little under a minute. One more epilogue letter in this final dream cave. Again, I usually skip it for lag frames, but here, let's let it play.
P.S. You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can choose how you see it. Now you can see true color. You must decide if it is for better or worse.
Time.
I hope after all this, it is for the better.
And that's you. Thanks for bearing with the technical difficulties. Thanks for having me. It's nice being here, even though the stream didn't really work out the best way it's supposed to. Moon Crisis, what happened was his mom developed a ring which altered the fabric of reality, changed the colors in their monochromatic world. It made her disappear. So she went back to the university to find the tools she worked with to create it. And by the time we reached the university, she had returned to our world.